how do I move past my regrets I played in the divorce? I've been divorced already for 8 years. Being human is about making mistakes. First off, accept your own humanity. Accept also there were many different factors that contributed to this divorce, far more than those that were your own doing. Some of the things that were brought on by earlier generations, things that you've lived through in your own families of origin. First, it's my part in the one part for which I take responsibility. It's not who I am. And realizing that even my behavior is the result of a lot of different influences. Now I want you to look back at that narrative, though. What are you telling yourself? What's your divorce story? Is what you're setting forth your experience? Are you hearing other people's voices, shame and blame from others, and making it part of your story? If so, that stuff needs to go. Be real with yourself about what actually did take place from your perspective. Once you have that narrative in place, you're able then to see, okay, this is one part of my life. It's significant and very painful, but it's not who I am. The lessons learned from it have become a part of who I am in your life. It isn't who you are. Once you make the narrative, your divorce story, really depict what occurred from your own perspective, then drawing meaning from it. Even though divorce is traumatic and painful, the lessons can have future significant meaning in your life and in the lives of people you care about. Who knows how that lack of lesson would impact other people down the road. Extracting the meaning from the narrative allows us to learn from it and to feel gratitude and to take what we learned into our future. Regret doesn't allow us to learn from the experience. It doesn't allow us to accept it. Instead, we're just playing over again and again this experience, hoping perhaps for something different, or wanting to avoid certain feelings that come with and the discomfort of having played one part in that divorce. So something came up that is meaningful and part of your path. There's a reason you're holding on to the regret. It's really important to ask yourself, what is it serving? How does it serve me to hold on to the regret I have, the sadness, the shame, the blame, the guilt for the things I did that contributed to the divorce? What would your life be like if you couldn't have that thought anymore? What would you experience? Maybe it's a profound sadness. It doesn't matter if it's 8 years or 8 days. Unless you are able to experience the sadness, not the guilt, not the shame, but the real sadness, and mourn the loss. I don't know how having these regrets, how it's serving you. Do you think that if I don't regret this constantly, does that mean I'm not a caring person? You obviously care very deeply. So your brain is reliving this experience over and over again. That is a result of caring, but it's not adaptive anymore. It's not helping you to move forward. So what is it that I'm avoiding by blaming myself? Is it true? Is what I take responsibility for absolutely true? How do I feel when I believe this is true? Who does having this feeling serve? What would my experience be if I never had this thought again? And perhaps it might be, yes, I feel a lot of grief and mourning and continuing sadness about the things that occurred that led to divorce. But I've learned from it. I have meaning from it. I can take what I've learned and really help other people with it. So start by going inside and getting some of those answers. Once you have some of those answers, we can take it a step further. So stay in touch with me and we can continue to work on this together. How do I stay strong for my kids during and after the divorce process? Realize divorce alone doesn't harm children. It's conflict. Conflict between parents is detrimental to children. That increases the risk of emotional issues down the road. Also, uncertainty. So, all the things that create anxiety and stress create vulnerability for children. However, there are a lot of things you can do to really build resilience in children, helping them to be resilient and experience a good life and a great childhood. Realizing I could still do that, that was what I needed to maintain my strength during the divorce. So we want to tune into all the positive ways we can continue to influence our children during this time, and that will also make us stronger. Guilt and fear keep us from being able to be there for our children in a really present and authentic way. Children still have every opportunity to have a wonderful childhood and a good life. Understanding that gives you strength. Changes in roles will lead to changes in communication patterns. Are you continuing to engage with your ex? Have you guys left the spouse roles behind? If you're in co-parent or co-parent roles, your communication should not look anything like it looked when you were married, right? Everything that is said should be something that could be said in an office between business partners. Look at the way you and your ex are communicating. Changing the communication patterns between spouses is essential to recovering from divorce. That professional communication puts you in a stronger place and gives you a head start on that self-respect. Also, engaging in emotion-focused parenting. Let's share with our children that there aren't positive or negative emotions. All emotions are acceptable. There's behavior that isn't acceptable from kids, but emotions are acceptable. We focus on helping them to identify their emotions as they learn to work through them. Identify when they're feeling sad, when they're feeling angry, and then work on processing that anger or that sadness. At the same time, when you bring your awareness to your emotions, you don't have to hide them from your children. It's okay to be sad in front of our kids. It's actually probably a good thing because it says, sometimes I'm sad. Life has happy moments and joyful moments. It also has sad moments and scary moments. I can identify, mommy is sad right now, but I'm not going to be sad forever. I'm going to let myself process this. I know the more I do, the more I just let myself feel this and give myself a good cry, actually things become better. They learn from you as well how to identify their emotions, how to process their emotions. That is a strength, showing them how you process your emotions and that it's okay. Let them know they should not feel afraid communicating with you what they're feeling. It's okay to share emotions with our ex, all communication via email, texting only in emergency, making sure we have our goodbyes before pickup or drop off so that it's easier. It's okay to say, I'm going to miss you while you're gone, but you know what? I'll be here and you'll be coming back. Another way to stay strong for our kids is to show them the way we can continue to feel connected to them. Your parenting plan should be very specific so that there aren't questions. You said it means this, I said it means that. That takes away from your strength. And it also leaves your kids with a lot of uncertainty. When the logistics are in place, kids can come to depend upon and know what's going to happen next. The old cliche, the oxygen mask coming down and you have to put it on yourself first before you can put it on your children. It's a cliche because it's so true. Taking care of yourself is actually one of the ways you're taking care of your children. Every time you nourish yourself, you're giving more to your children. You're increasing your capacity to parent despite all the things that are going on. And you are then tapping into your strength and your courage. Let's continue this dialogue. Once you can give me some feedback on what that's like for you and what resonates with you and what doesn't, then we can go a little further. Another question, how to deal with men. I feel like I can never trust men again. You don't have to go forward trusting. You want to be able to go forward deciding whether or not to trust individual people, individual men. If you've been in a tough marriage and you thought your partner was somebody other than what they turned out to be, you may lose trust in yourself and trust in your judgment. Realize you've learned from that experience. Learn who is more right for you and what are red flags that you may have. Is this particular person, do they have qualities that are trustworthy? And then when you're really paying attention to that and you're looking at them as an individual, that the more you follow your inner voice, you are discerning and you can take your own wisdom and rely upon it a little at a time. Don't be overly protective of yourself because you want to be able to have experiences. Your brain tries to help you put all the men in one category, and that way you'll be protected. If you think they're all terrible, this will never happen to you again. The fact is, there are some terrible people out there, but there's also a lot of really nice people. No matter what connection you feel with somebody in the first hour, the first date, the first week, you realize, okay, I know a part of them, and I can trust what I know a little at a time. If I'm interacting with this person and a red flag comes up, I listen to it. And that's going to help me to trust the next time I'm with somebody and a red flag goes up. Maybe you can trust just enough to go to the next level, slowly building trust in other people so that they actually earn your trust. And you practice as they're earning trust and you're slowly learning more and more about. You're practicing listening to yourself along the way and building that trust in yourself. The last question, is it wrong for me to date before I have a divorce decree? I feel guilty. I've been in this marriage for over 20 years and we haven't actually had a marriage for over a decade. Only you can judge what's right for you, and you don't need permission to date. You may be helped by some advice, but the permission is yours alone. Every experience is different. If you've already mourned the loss of your marriage and the loss of the relationship while you were still in it, maybe you don't need as much time before you look into a new relationship. If your kids are not living at home, their experience is not going to affect. It's really your own business. One caution I would have is that even if you've been able to grieve the end of the marriage while you're still in the marriage, you've had enough time for yourself, because even though you may have felt separated from your partner while you were living together, you weren't necessarily completely on your own. Have you had enough time to know yourself again and know what it is you want? If you decide to start dating, will you continue to get to know yourself, to continue to appreciate having this independence? You can get back to me in the comments or messages, or this could be more of a conversation than just one question. Don't hesitate to get in touch.